Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday with ScholarReady. Today, we're going to talk about exams one-on-one. The focus today is going to be on the SAT exam. Many of you will be taking the SAT for maybe the first time or maybe for the umpteenth time this Saturday, the first Saturday in May for SAT. Of course, they will offer the SAT again in the first Saturday of June. And after that, they will offer it again on Saturday, August 26th. Again, my name is Jennifer Ledwith, and welcome to Tuesdays with ScholarReady. I'm the director of ScholarReady, and we prepare students for exams. And those exams include the PSAT, SAT, and ACT. They also include the TSI, which is the Texas Success Initiative. So those of you who are getting ready to go into, those of you who are getting ready to take dual credit courses, those of you who are getting ready to take dual credit, those of you who are getting ready to go to college for the first time at a university or college in the state of Texas, you will have to take something called you will most likely have to take the Texas Success Initiative test. So the TSI, the purpose of the TSI is to help you to place into your courses. So it may be that you don't want to take remedial courses for a couple of semesters, so you want to prepare for the TSI so you can avoid that fate. So ScholarReady prepares students for the PSAT, SAT, ACT, and the TSI. We also help students with math and help them to write their essays for college. This summer, write your essays this summer. The Texas Common Application, the application open for students who want to apply to college, to universities and colleges in the state of Texas will open in July. Write your essays during the summertime. Do not call me during the week of Thanksgiving when you are writing it. Write them during the summertime and take care of that before you go on and enjoy your last year, your last football game, your last homecoming, your last everything as a high school student. Test preparation is so important. Let me tell you why test preparation is important. And we're going to talk about the SAT today. I'll step back and tell you a little bit about my story. I graduated from high school in Houston, Texas. I'm a proud Houstonian, and I finished from North Shore Senior High School, proud of the home of the Mustangs from the East Side. And I decided that when I was a senior, I was done with the East Side and I wanted to leave. And I knew that the only way that I could go away to college was to get enough scholarships. Well, one aspect of my college application really stood out, and those were my test scores. My test scores were phenomenal. For the PSAT, which is, we're going to talk about the SAT today, but the PSAT is nearly identical to the SAT, and I scored so well in the PSAT that the University of Oklahoma gave me an out-of-state tuition waiver because I was a non-resident of the state of Oklahoma. So I was a National Achievement Commended semifinalist, something like that. And OU gave me some money on the basis of that. So I'm very passionate about test scores. Test scores are so important. They're so important because it can mean the difference between a partial scholarship and a full scholarship. Several of my students are athletes and they want to continue playing sports at the collegiate level, particularly football players. And they have to meet the standards. Several of them have to meet the minimum standards. Of course, there are ways to get around that. But for most students, they need to follow what the colleges want in terms of academics. I actually had a conversation this morning with a parent, and we were looking at and this came about through the questionnaire. Those of you who you can complete the free questionnaire. It's if you look in the notes here, you'll see that if you want the questionnaire, please email me. My email address is listed in the box, jdledwith@scholarready.com. Or you can also go to www.scholarready.com and click on the Parents tab, and you will see where you'll see the questionnaire, and you'll need to fill in information about current classes, current grades, class rank, if that's applicable, grade point average. Those things will help me to get an understanding of what's going on. But today I completed an assessment with a parent, and I looked at some of the colleges that her daughter is interested in applying to, and really just, I mean, really and truly with her focusing on, first of all, her test scores are pretty good, and she hasn't prepared for the exam. She has not studied or prepared at all, and her test scores are pretty good. And just with her preparing a little bit, she may be able to get money from her dream college. So, so that's the great point about the assessment. It will show you where you are in terms of in terms of readiness, in terms of readiness for your goals. So please complete that questionnaire. All right, so exams are so important. SAT scores are so important. What I want you all to do, if you get anything out of this lesson today, I want you to understand the importance of the test scores. So those of you who have students who are still in high school, have them go to the college's website. For example, one of the colleges that came up in our conversation today is Howard University. Howard University came up in the conversation today. Go to Google and type in Howard University, and go to Howard University's website and browse the requirements for their scholarship programs. Howard makes it very clear. The SAT and ACT scores they will offer that they require for certain scholarship levels, and I recommend that you really look into it. I know a young lady, and this isn't one of my students. She isn't one of my students, but I know a young lady who scored, I want to say, a 32 out of a 36 on the ACT, and she's pretty much earned a full ride to Howard University in Washington, D.C. So your test, preparing for exams, can make all of the difference in the world. Can make all the difference in the world. So exams. Let us start with the. Let's talk about the. Let's talk about the the SAT. Let's talk about the SAT in the basic format. The SAT is comprised of 3 subjects. It's 3 subjects. There's reading, there's English and language, and there's math. The math section is comprised of 2 different parts. There's with the calculator and without the calculator. And it is it's quite an experience. It's a timed exam. It's different from what you are experiencing, what your students are experiencing in the classroom. My students who have some of my students go to public schools. I have a student who is at a Montessori school, and they don't take many exams at all. So you have some people who don't take exams. You have some students who take exams, and they'll have 4 hours to answer 60 questions. This is quite different from what you will experience on the SAT. So first of all, the basic format. The basic format, there are 4 subjects. There's reading, there's writing and language, and there's math with the calculator and without the calculator. This is how they calculate the scores. The highest score that you can receive on the current SAT, so the SAT after March of 2016, is a 1600. The most you can score on the math sections is a combined 800 points. The most you can score on the reading and the writing and language sections is a combined 800 points. So they take reading and writing, combine them together, and that's, at most 800 points. And they take the math sections, combine, and at most 800 points. Really pay attention. Look at those schools that you're interested in applying to. Look at the requirements for the admissions, but also look at the scholarship requirements and what an ideal test score for SAT, ACT, what an ideal class rank and GPA you need in order to do well. At this point, for some of you, you can't do much in terms of changing your SAT score, or I beg your pardon, you can't do much in terms of changing your class rank or your grade point average, but you still can make some moves with your test scores. All right, so when do you take the SAT? How do you take the SAT? All right, so you're going to register at collegeboard.org. You're going to register at collegeboard.org to sign up for the exam, and they'll take you through a questionnaire. It's very simple, and you want to register as early as possible. When you register for the exam, pay the extra money and for the test booklet and the answer sheet, and that's available for the May SAT. That's not available for the June SAT. For my students who attended my class at University of St. Clair Lake, they will have an opportunity to have a test review in August. based on their booklets, based on those tests that they took in May. So I advise you to pay the $18. I want to say it's $18. There's a $14 option. Don't do that one. I had a parent to do that, and she was upset because it was not what she wanted. You want the actual test that your student took, and you want the actual answer booklet. Okay, so you want to register for the exam. You want to register for it. Normally, you want to register for it as early as possible. Those of you who haven't paid for that test booklet, by all means, you should be able to still do so. That test booklet probably will not be available until June or July, because it takes about maybe so May scores. The outcomes for the May exam for the SAT, those scores probably won't be available until the beginning of June, and then you have to wait, I think, 4 to 6 weeks until you get that answer booklet. But it will help you to prepare for the next SAT that you may take in August or October of the 2017-2018 academic year. Okay, so that's how you register. It's going to be on your own. You're not going to go through the school counselors. You're going to go to collegeboard.org and register on your own. It is not something that the colleges will sign your student up for, like STAR or like PSAT. Okay, so that's the exam. So let us talk about the exam. Let's talk about the reading. Let's talk about the reading section. The reading section. What does it take to do well on the reading section? So I'm going to answer this question. If you're taking the exam, let's say if you have some time before you take the exam. Let's say you're going to take it in June, or you're going to take it maybe next school year. Okay. The best way to prepare for the exam is to read. You need to be a reader, and you need to study the vocabulary words. There is a game that I play with a program I play with my students, and it's called 400 Words in 40 Days, and it's designed for them to learn the vocabulary that they need to learn, including synonyms, antonyms, Latin roots, Greek root words, to help them to be able to decipher words they don't know. We do that with games and with quizzes, and that's something that you can do if you have more time than, say, less than a week, and like this week. If you're on a tight timeline, like many of you will be, so you're looking at me saying, well, I need to pick up some last minute tips for my May exam. This is what you want to do. You want to make sure that you pay attention to the anatomy of the exam. The SAT reading exam is comprised of various passages. You have fiction and you have nonfiction. There may be one fiction passage on the exam, and then the other passages will be nonfiction. Now, of the nonfiction, you'll have some that are, like, I call them great American speeches. You'll have some that are based in the social sciences, the natural sciences, and you may have opposing viewpoints. Opposing viewpoints. If you see two passages, passage 1 and passage 2, that is opposing viewpoints. And I'll tell you something, on the practice exams that I studied with a couple of my students, we discovered that on the SAT, they always ask a question on opposing viewpoints. You don't even have to read the passage. And all you have to do is look at the questions, and you have to say, all you have to do is look at the answer choices. And the one answer choice that demonstrates opposite views is the answer. So if you're short on time, so you don't have enough time to prepare, this is what you do. You decide what passages you're good at. So maybe it's social science, maybe it's opposing viewpoints, and maybe it's fiction. Okay, so that's where you want to spend most of your time. Spend most of your time on those passages, and then use the rest of the time to just go and just bubble in just one letter for the other passages. So let me go back over that again. So answer the passages that you are strongest, that you have the greatest strength in. So maybe it's fiction. So fiction, nonfiction, opposing viewpoints. Answer all of those passages first. So then pay attention to the time that you have for the reading exam. And if it's 4 passages that you enjoy and that you can do well, spend the bulk of your time on those passages, and then leave like 5 minutes at the end to go in and maybe make educated guesses at the other passages. So that's if you don't have quite a bit of time. Another aspect of the ACT reading test that will help you to save time is you have to decide where you get your points from on the ACT. Do you get points for answering questions correctly, or do you get points for reading entire passages? All right, of course you get points for answering questions correctly. So try this. Read the questions first and then go answer the questions. Some students are some students can do it and they enjoy it. Other students feel like they have to read the entire passage. For me, I'm a reader and I read the questions first. So I just recommend that you practice that. And what do you practice with? Go to the College Board website. Go to the College Board website and they'll take you through the links of preparing for the exam. And I believe they have 7 or 8 practice tests online with answer keys, with scantrons, with explanations that will help you to prepare for the exam. So if anyone has questions about the reading section or the general format of the exam, please type it in. We are live. Other than that, I'm going to move on and I'm going to start talking about the how to use the multiple choice to your advantage. So let's talk about how to use the multiple choice to your advantage on the writing and language sections of the ACT. All right, the writing and language section of the ACT is grammar. It's all grammar. When you look at the questions, don't read the passage first. Don't read the sentences first. Read the passage first. Read the passage first, don't read the passage first. Read the questions first. And as you read the questions, look at the answer choices. And those answer choices are going to tell you what you're being tested on. For example, if the answer choices are the same except for a placement of a comma, your question is about commas. So you need to be in your mind when you go to the passage, you need to examine the passage for comma rules, the comma rules that you learned. Another tip, usually, it's not always the case, but usually the shortest answers on the writing and language sections are the correct ones. They're the right ones. Not always, but if you run out of time, choose the shorter answers. Okay, so that's writing. Now let's talk about math. Math is comprised of math is primarily algebra. So how do you prepare for the math section in the long run, and how do you prepare for it in the short run? So my long run people taking it next academic year and beyond, you need to take a strong math classes, particularly a strong Algebra 2 class. And it's not, let's go take a state exam algebra class. It's let's go to college algebra class. If it can be an advanced class, that would be great. But if not, there are some schools, there are schools in Houston, public and private schools, that offer regular Algebra 2 courses that are as rigorous as Algebra 2, as pre-advanced placement classes at other schools. These schools that I will not name, but as a parent and as a student, hopefully you know where you are. I'll give you a hint. If you don't have homework, if your child doesn't bring home homework, it's not a rigorous math course. Okay, so that's the long run. In the short run. So this Saturday, my May people, this Saturday, number one, use the multiple choice to your advantage. Often you can use process of elimination by simply estimating what your answers can be. Also, another thing that you can do, y'all, is plug in numbers. Some questions will ask you, will test you on the basic rules of algebra. They'll ask you if integer A is divisible by B, and then we take that and multiply it by integer C, what is the outcome? Yes, and they'll give you, the answer choices will be a list of expressions with variables. Yes, as someone who has tutored, as someone who has done algebra, every year of my life since I was like 12 or 13, I don't have those things memorized anymore. So I plug in numbers. Plug in numbers to your questions. Plug in numbers. So number one, use process of elimination. Number two, plug in numbers. And number three, draw a picture and write stuff down. Draw a picture and write stuff down. I have a student who is brilliant. and he'll make careless mistakes because he doesn't write things down. Write it down. Draw a picture. I'm drawing pictures, and if I am drawing pictures, and I have been studying algebra since before you were born or before you were even thought of, then you need to draw a picture. Okay, so math, shortcuts for math, process of elimination. Number 2, make sure you plug in numbers. And number 3, draw a picture. So we've spoken about reading, writing, and math. Do we have any questions about SAT and preparing for it? Well, thank you for joining me this evening for Tuesdays with ScholarReady. If you're interested in learning more about preparing for higher education, please text ScholarSpot, SCHOLARSPOT in all caps to 22828 to receive the newsletter. Standard text messaging fees will apply. Have a great evening. Thank you. Bye.